Hello, my name is Jimmy, and this is the most important new SUV from Honda, the 6th generation 2023 Honda CRV. This is the Canadian spec sport model. So here in Canada, we get the LX in front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Then we get this, the Sport, we get an EXL, and then we got the Touring, which is the hybrid. The Sport here in Canada is still powered with the 1.5 liter turbo, non-hybrid. In the US, the trims are different. You start off with the EX, and then you go with the Sport, which is a hybrid, then the EXL, then the Sport Touring hybrid. So things are a little bit different in the US and Canada, but overall, it's still a very similar vehicle. So let me tell you everything that you need to know, starting with the looks. Starting with the front end here, gone is the edgy styling of previous years. It's a very flat look. It's a little, unassuming because it just doesn't look like it stands out in the crowd. But like I said in the HRV video, Honda's going in a direction that's kind of like Volkswagen. Their cars, they tend to look good for years. This is that look. It's a little understated, but I think it's fantastic. LED headlamps up front, this chrome surround on top of the grille here. It's a very distinctive new Honda look to it. On the side, since this is a sport model, we get 18-inch wheels that are blacked out, and we got a couple more blacked out trim pieces on the vehicle because, once again, it is a sport mode. But you still get chrome window surrounds, and you get proximity door locks on the front door, so you can lock and unlock the vehicle from the front, which is great, but you can't do that on the rear doors. They didn't provide that. But the rear doors, they open a full 90 degrees, which just makes putting anything in there just so much easier. Do love that. Coming around to the rear, you get a little bit of a lip spoiler on top. I do love the new CRV taillights here. They look really, really good. It's very Volvo-esque, but it's a little different. So it's not like completely copying their homework, but it looks, I think it looks great. The sport model here in Canada, we don't have any exhaust tips, only the hybrid model, you get some finishers on the bottom. I mean, like I said, it's an understated look. Overall, the CRV, in my eyes, looks great. It doesn't stand out in the crowd, but it doesn't have to. It's not designed to stand out. It's just designed to look good in years to come. If we open up the tailgate, we do get a power tailgate, but we don't have the kick to open. Only the top trim gets that. And we get 39 cubic feet of space because the floor itself can be lowered to the lower position as I have it here, relative to the hybrid model, which is at 36 cubic feet because, that's where the hybrid batteries is. And also in here, you get a spare tire. Hybrid models, you do not. But the trunk itself is relatively large. You get LED lights on the side as well as some grocery hooks, which I do like. But let's head to the cabin. All right, as for the back seats, I'm 5'11", I got plenty of headroom, legroom's also really good, and I got excellent thigh support as well. Generally in a lot of vehicles, you're just, the legs, you're raised up a little bit, but in here, not at all. It just conforms to my body and I love it. As this is a sport model, I only get cloth seats, so it's nothing too fancy, but I don't mind it. It's just, it's not super cold in the winter, and it's not super hot in the summer, so it's actually a really good alternative to leather and all that other good stuff. You do get vents in the back here, but no USB ports. That's only for the top trim. And as you can see, I got my Collect Flow here on the passenger side. So if you are carrying kids, not a problem at all. Plenty of space within this cabin to do so. What's nice is because of the CRV's width, I was able to fit 3 car seats in here. This is a Collect 5 in the center here and a Collect Ling on the driver's side. Yes, fitting 3 across is possible, but only with narrow seats. There might be others, but these were the ones that I have available with me. And as you can see, if you have 3 kids, it is possible to have them 3 across here, which isn't really possible if you have wider seats. So do make sure you got the seats that's compatible. And if you do have kids, make sure you bring your child seats to the dealership so you can test them out just to make sure that, you have all the room that you need. Speaking of room, this is how much space I have in front of the rear-facing seat on the front seat here. No problem at all. But anyways, let's move up to the front. All right, the front seats of the CRV. They're actually pretty comfortable, and the bolsters, they actually hug you in quite well. A lot more than it should for a vehicle like this. Of course, they are heated, but because it is a sport model, it's just this cloth pattern, which I honestly don't mind. It's quite comfortable, and because it's cloth, you don't really need the heated seat function. I mean, you have it, but you don't really need it because it's cloth. It just, doesn't have to be, super cold or super hot like leather would be. So don't mind it at all. In front of me, I got your typical Honda steering wheel. It is leather wrapped on this sport model. It looks quite good. It is heated, and you got all the buttons that you really need. No problems there. And then behind, you got a split analog and digital cluster. This split design, it's the same one that's in like the Accord before, the HRV, and a whole bunch of other Hondas. At first glance, it doesn't really even look like a digital display until you kind of go through the menus, but it's fine. There's nothing really that's bad about it. What's nice is you get this digital readout in the center. You still get that analog like speedometer on the right, but the digital readout just makes it nice and easy. Because there's no heads-up display, you'll be referring to that quite a bit as you're driving. The infotainment, this is like the base system, not the base, because you can get one lower than this, at least here in Canada. The LX model is this same infotainment screen, a 7-inch unit with 4 speakers. This, I get 2 more, 6 speakers. If you step up to the EXL, you get the 9-inch screen, and then you get more speakers. Can't remember how many. I think it was 9, and then you get 11 speakers with the Bose, I think. Either way, the 4 different trims here in Canada, you get 4 different types of, audio systems. It's kind of crazy. I get it. They want to cut costs, but wouldn't it cost less for them to worry about all that? Or do they actually have the speakers or just not connected? I don't know. Anyways, the system itself is very basic. You get AM, FM, and basically it. There's CarPlay and Android Auto, which is mostly what you'll be using, but there's no Sirius XM, you don't have a CD player, and of course there's no tape deck in this day and age. So it has the basics. It's useful for that, but the screen is relatively small and you don't get all the functionality that you get on the upper end trim, because the upper end trim, you do get wireless CarPlay as well, which this I don't get, so I'll be using this little cable, and no Qi wireless charger here neither. Overall, the interior, it's very similar to the Civic. You got the same kind of grille and everything. Materials are pretty good. You get soft touch materials all out the cabin. I don't mind it. The only thing is I get a standard sunroof, and there's no option for a panoramic sunroof, which in this day and age is a miss because a lot of vehicles are getting that. And it's just kind of weird how, the previous generation CRV, you get that here in Canada, but you just, don't even see that as an option anymore. But before we go overdrive, let's talk about the powertrain. As said, this is the sport trim, which means I have the 1.5 liter turbo here in Canada. It makes 190 horsepower and 179 pound-feet of torque. If you want to tow with it, you can. 1,500 pounds is the maximum rating. The optional hybrid that's on the top trim here in Canada, you get a combined horsepower of 204 and 247 pound-feet of torque. All right, on the road with the CRV, how's it feel? Honestly, pretty bland, but that's okay because it's a CRV. It's not designed to be exciting. If you want something more exciting in this class, Mazda CX-5. What the CRV is supposed to do is supposed to give you the best of all worlds, and actually it does that pretty well. The vehicle itself is relatively quiet when you're not pushing it hard. The engine is relatively muted when you're not pushing it hard, but when you do, things get a little bit more annoying because that 1.5 with the CVT, yeah, not the best noise from the engine itself. It's a little harsh, it's a little coarse, and of course being paired with a CVT, it's just drone city, isn't it? It's not the most pleasant experience, but you're not going to be flooring it everywhere. Maybe when you're overtaking or accelerating hard, but during normal acceleration, it's completely fine. So you shouldn't come into those scenarios where you're going to be hearing that dreadful engine any more than it should. And if you really want, you can get a quieter and, of course, a little bit more pleasant hybrid experience. I'll be reviewing that in a few weeks, so do stay subscribed, and, I'll show you that later on. But this 1.5, it's sufficient. It has enough power to, propel the vehicle, and it's absolutely fine. The chassis itself is actually quite stiff, and because of that, you have a lot of confidence in the vehicle. If you throw into a corner, of course, You know, I'm on winter tires right now, so grip is limited, but you don't feel like it's gonna, well, do anything crazy. It's a very sure-footed vehicle, and that's what Hondas are about. It's also very safe because you have all the active safety features that you need even from the base model. The collision mitigation braking, the adaptive cruise control, even the lane keep assist is all standard. So you get all of that, and even blind spot monitoring. Some other vehicles in like higher price brackets don't even get that as standard. Honda gives you all that because they want you to be safe. The only thing is they don't get you parking sensors. I guess parking lot safety is a little bit different. I don't get parking sensors on the front or rear. It's not like it's a hard vehicle to park by any means, but it's definitely something that, well, you got to get used to. But, you know, if you're coming from an older vehicle, that shouldn't matter all that much. Overall, the CRV is a terrific vehicle. You get everything right in this. It's solid, it feels great, the interior, it's super easy to use. There's nothing bad about it until we get to the price, at least here in Canada anyways. As spec'd, it's about 43,500 Canadian dollars, about 43,500 or 43,600 if I recall correctly. It's about $3,000-$4,000 more than like the RAV4, the Rogue, the CX-5 when similarly equipped. Why is it $3,000-$4,000 more than that? That's the part I don't understand. Sure, in the US, the pricing difference is less, but it's still higher. It's not $3-4 more. It's like $1,000 or $2 more. I didn't like fully look into every single spec on the US site just because I don't have the time and resources to do so. But it's, yeah, $3-4 here in Canada above like the Rogue and the CX-5. I mean, the CX-5 is definitely smaller than this. I can fit car seats in this easily and I get more room overall. But CX-5 is much more engaging of a vehicle to drive. For some people, that's going to be worth it to them. But if you compare it with like the Rogue, honestly, the new Rogue is really, really good. It has a CVT just like this. The cabin, I feel like the cabin on the Rogue, it's more luxurious as well. The materials that's in that, it's a little bit better. It's not any worse to use or anything like that as well. So just on paper anyways, without driving them back to back and comparing every single detail, the Rogue would be my pick. But I get it. There's a lot of people that love the Honda brand and will stick to it. And I guess that's kind of what it has going for it. It's a really, really good all-rounder. But the price, that just makes it a little bit difficult for me. But I also know in 2023 right now, no one's getting cars for MSRP. So there's also that. In any case, thank you so much for watching this video. Like the video you do, subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll catch you next week, hopefully in something that's a little bit more fun and a little bit less rain. Take care.